Welcome to another episode of Cooking in the Art Room. This episode, we will talk about collaborative artworks, how the whole is more than the sum of the parts. Many of the art activities that we do with students involve creating things independently, individually, and they can be wonderful activities and can get some really terrific results. But I have found that there is a special magic that happens when you have students create together. Many projects still allow for individual production, like in this project, each student made their own little building. But when it came time to display those buildings, instead of having each one on a separate piece of paper, all side by side on a bulletin board, the students worked together to create one big presentation for it. There is the wonderful interactivity that happens when they're deciding how they're going to paint something. Is the white of the paint different from the white of the paper? What other colors might be in snow? How many blues should we put in the sky? How can we share the whole production of this? And there are the negotiations that happen when it comes time to find room for everybody's work in there. In this particular mural, the students realized that it took a whole classroom to build their village. And they really did have to work together to make sure everyone was included, that everyone's house fit into the community. Students who have a little extra time, who finish things quicker, can help by adding extra details to the work while the others are finishing their required parts. And when you see the whole thing together, it really is quite remarkable. The wonderful thing about this is students stop comparing each other's work. They stop comparing themselves to the person next to them. And the people who view the work, it's the same thing. They look at it as a whole, and it is an impressive whole. So when they get this wonderful feedback about how great their artwork looks, they all share that same pride. There's still lots of room for individual expression, for fresh ideas. In this mural where they're building what lives over and under the snow, there was lots of individual expression. And again, back to that negotiation and collaboration to create the finished design, which they take such pride in because it's monumental. It looks fantastic. Sometimes when we're making art with students, we feel that there needs to be something to send home at the end of the day. It doesn't always have to be something to send home. There doesn't always have to be a finished product. Sometimes it's just experimenting with an idea, and sometimes it's putting all of our ideas together. I'm particularly fond of projects that allow for individual expression. In this project where the students were building a honeybee garden, they each got to think about flowers that they liked and what kind of flower they would want to plant for their bees. They each got to think about what a bee looks like and how they would make their bee. Would they be seeing it from the side or as if it was flying below them? They all get to contribute to creating the space where all these things are going to live. In this case, they're painting wonderfully varied green backgrounds. The background on the left is done with poster paint or tempera paint, and the background on the right is done with watercolor packs. Always choosing the material that seems right for the group, right for the day, right for the space. The background on this one, for example, was sprayed with bottles of food coloring in little spray bottles from the dollar store. And the students worked together to put all of their garden pieces in. They could still be building leaves and bees and more flowers and keep adding to it. It doesn't have to be finished one day. It can be worked on for a week. Students who have some extra time or who want to be at the art station can add extra things to the group mural. And it raises lots of points for discussion. All the things that they can observe about how their flower is different from their friend's flower, but how they all work together to make a beautiful garden. And it doesn't matter what materials you're using either. In this class, we were making flowers using printed papers, patterned papers, and construction paper. After looking at a wonderful book that had similar illustrations, everyone got to build their own flower. And we talked about how so many flowers were so many different shapes. And then we thought about water and all the different shades of blue that might be in the water, searched for papers and textures that would match our idea of water. And although each student only made 1 or 2 flowers and a handful of leaves, when you put them together, look at this magnificent display. And they had such pride in their finished product. I've used so many different kinds of materials for these types of collaborative projects, and really any material will work. In this case, they are making their lovely flowers using pieces of fun foam that are stuck to bits of cardboard and rolling printing ink on them to create their design. The leaves are bits of styrofoam. And when they print it all together, each choosing the ink that suits their piece best, repeating their piece throughout, making sure that everybody is included, making sure that all the spaces are filled in. Again, the pride that they take in that final design is amazing. So in this group, it doesn't matter if there are some students who are more comfortable with art, who have made art more and are more confident in their skills, or if the student is just starting out. Everyone becomes part of a magnificent art piece. Everyone shares that pride. And here's their finished design. Absolutely fantastic. So I think you'll find that if you're working with students, sometimes working alone is a good idea. Sometimes they're going to want something to take home to share with their family. But other times, they just want to build together. The things they can make will amaze you, just as it amazes them, regardless of the materials that you're using. I saw quite a remarkable example of that last year. Students from Perth Andover, inspired by a piece of local art, photographed all the buildings on the main street in their town. Each one drew one building. Each one took their time and put in the details. And each drawing looked wonderful. But when they cut them out and put them together, the result was magical. So think about that for your next art project. Think about how each student can contribute. Each student can do something that they are responsible for, but the whole thing can become a wonderful collaboration. How might you collaborate? Happy drawing, everyone.